Origi turns, shoots.
Build the dream in FIFA 20, pay less and get more, and use the code TVM at checkout for a bigger discount. What is going on, guys? TVM here. Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to do a couple of player reviews, but I'm also just going to summarize the video as slow defenders. Can you use them in FIFA 20? You often see the likes of Lucas Hernandez. I've seen people use Ndidi at the back because he's got a little bit of pace to him. He's actually a really good defender. Wouldn't be against that myself, actually. And of course, you know, players like Akanji and things like that. They're 83 rated cards, but they're going for like 40k. Maybe not so much these days, but they were toward the beginning. And now you've got cards like this. The Inform Mina of Everton, 82 rated. Some of the best defensive stats on an 82 rated card you're likely to see. But because he has 55 pace, he's like 10k, and I'm going to test today whether this kind of player, and he's not the only one under scrutiny. We will be looking at, as the thumbnail suggests, I'll look at the Inform Hummels and a few other cards dotted around the place that just don't have pace, but they have really good defensive stats, and we'll see how usable they are. If you do want to enjoy the video, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really does help me out a lot. If you want to see this kind of thing with other players in certain positions with certain stats that people tend to shy away from, obviously let me know. This isn't going to be a definitive answer. I'm not going to say, hey, guess what? Yes, you can, or no, you can't. It depends on how good you are, what division you're in, etc. But if you look at Mina's stats, I mean, for an 82 rated card, they're not bad, right? He's got very good heading. So if someone, for whatever reason, does decide to put a cross into the box, you've got a really good header of the ball there. You've got, again, with a chem style. I'm not going to play him with a chem style, by the way. I'm just going to play him as is. We're not going to put any chem styles on these cards today. But that's just to emphasize, well, not how good they are without pace, because obviously we might determine that they are terrible. But it's just if you use them completely raw. But if you were to put a chem style on him, just like just a sentinel or something, just forget the pace, just put something purely defensive on him, you'll have into the 90s for stand tackle, defensive awareness, high 80s for slide tackle. Obviously the heading will be up into 99, and interceptions will be about 89 as well. So you've got some insane stats there. He's already got 92 strength as well, which is really good. A lot of people these days tend to play, you know, one drop back as well. It's the big debate. I don't personally play it. You'll see, well, actually maybe you won't see my my custom tactics. If you watch the Road to Glory, you'll know that I play like 5 depth. I don't play drop back, and the reason for that is because I like to keep the ball, and I feel like if you play drop back too much, you just can't seem to keep hold of the ball. So yeah, I don't like that. Maguire is obviously going to be another player we're going to talk about here. He's got high work rates. I'm not a massive fan of that, but you know, one of these, like if this card had, I don't know, 70, 75 pace, at the very beginning of the game, he would have been a 25k player. He wasn't. He never was. He was like 2k instantly. I think he might be a little bit more now because people are anticipating the Premier League SBC. I'm not quite sure when that will drop. Maybe it's out already. Who knows? But if you look at his stats, he's very similar to Mina in the fact that he's very good in the air. His stamina, for a defender, 65, 70, it's fine. You're not going to be doing that much running, and plus he can't anyway. So 90 strength is phenomenal. And again, you've got very similar stats in terms of slide tackle, stand tackle, defensive awareness, and interceptions. In fact, him and Maguire, no, he is Maguire, him and Mina are basically the same card. You know, they can't really run, their passing is but they do have decent composure with alright defensive stats. And with a Sentinel, you get up into the 90s for physical and up into the 90s for defensive stats basically across the board. And as I said, later on in the video we will talk about a few other players, Hummels, there's a couple of other 83s and such without any pace, and we'll compare the stats of those players. But I'm going to go into the gameplay in just a second. I have played Maguire and Mina together, and I did play 2 fullbacks that didn't have an awful lot of pace as well. Now I'm pretty sure, at least on one of the fullbacks, and I'm going to be talking about him in a second, I think it's Aaron Cresswell. I do think I've got a shadow on him, but apart from him, the other 3 defenders don't have chem styles, and they are particularly slow. And I went in and played a few Rivals games, and I was just testing the waters. So the team looks like this. As you can see, like I said, Aaron Cresswell does have a shadow, but the other 3 defenders don't have any chem styles whatsoever. In fact, the 3 midfield players, Maddison, Lo Celso, and Ndidi, neither of which have tremendous pace. Pukki isn't the fastest. Of course, Walcott's one of the fastest players in the game. Salah is quite quick as well. But those are the only 2 players in the entire team that actually have any pace whatsoever. I wasn't bringing Joe Gomez off the bench. I wasn't bringing anyone else off the bench, actually, until about the 80th minute. And that was more sort of an attacking thing. But We're going to go into the gameplay of one particular game now. I played 3 games with this team, with these set of centre-backs. I then went and played a few games with a few others, like Hummels and such. And I was just testing it out. And this game in particular was the one that I wanted to show, because this game was the one that really stood out to me. It showed the best and the worst of this sort of defensive, double act, I guess. This isn't necessarily me saying, go and get Maguire, go and get Mina, because people give them a bad rap. It's just testing whether slow defenders are actually usable. And I am going to show you going forward as well, attacking play and such. We're not just going to limit it to defending. So as you can see, we took the ball from defence, we put it to the strikers, and we got into the opposition half. And then again here, ball's played down the left. We're only 8 minutes in at this point, but we are playing, we're not deep, but we are deep enough here that we can just cope with it. Unfortunately, he just smashes it over the bar. This was a pretty decent player. I don't say he was the best player. I think if I had my normal team, it wouldn't have been not a challenge, but it wouldn't have been that difficult. Like, I'm not the best FIFA player, but he gave me a good game for the team that I had. But like I said, if I had my Road to Glory side, for instance, I think we would have been fine. We started knocking it around quite well with players like Walcott, and Pukki in particular was very good. Still to this day, actually, Pukki is a very, very good, capable player. So if you did that SBC, you've got yourself a card that even now is usable, which is decent. It's just not that easy to fit him into a team if you have gone somewhat hybrid. He picks it up again here, plays a very poor ball into the defender, and they get it clear. And then this is where pace is required. Luckily for me, his winger, Pepe, wasn't awake, and Cresswell managed to sort himself out. Now, I wanted to play it back to Maddison here. This is where we actually concede a goal. I wanted to play it back to Maddison, and the game played it all the way back into the middle. One little ball through, and he's in on goal. And that, you can argue, is absolutely nothing to do with the defence. It didn't matter how quick my defence was there. If I had Nkanji, if I had Lucas Hernandez with shadows on them, they still wouldn't have caught them because they were completely flat-footed. They didn't expect the ball to come back, and neither did I. I went to pass it to Maddison, and it's just completely gone wayward. Cresswell takes it there, plays a good ball up the line. We're under pressure a lot in this game, actually. Looking back through the clips, I was under pressure a lot more than I thought I was when I was actually playing the game. And Dombele picks it up there. Great defending from Mina. And Ndidi tries to mop it up. He loses it. Comes back. Nice block again from Mina. And I tell you what, right, in terms of a Mina review, I really like him. I think he's a class defender. He's got a lot about him. A lot of strength, very good stand tackle. His jockey is actually not that bad. It does feel a little bit, well, not quick, but a bit quicker than I thought he was going to get with like 40-something acceleration. Lo Celso gets in here to just slot one past the keeper. I think the second goal, we actually lose the game 3-2, just to give you a heads up. That is nothing to do with the centre-back's pace or anything. That was just it was a kick-off goal, essentially. So he scored that just out of nothing. The ball in here on the 59th, dinked across. Look at this for a goal line clearance. Just heads it away. Mina again. Maguire was okay. He didn't impress me at all. I didn't really... To give it away, I didn't feel like pace was actually a problem against any of my opponents. I think once I got caught out for pace, but I'm not even playing a high line, and I'm not playing one drop back. I think that was a terrible time challenge from me. If you play drop back, like one drop back, obviously pace doesn't really make a difference to you. And I was playing 5 depth, pressure and heavy touch. Cresswell falls over there under the challenge. I've slid in to try and stop the ball going through, and he's just cut inside and scored. But again, it's nothing to do with pace, it's just poor defending. And it's not really down to the defenders, it was actually my fault. I've lost that game when realistically there was absolutely no reason for me to lose it. But, that's not what we're focusing on here. Does pace matter in centre-backs? And to be fair, I'm not sure it really does as much as you think it does. Like, yeah, okay, I'm not testing it across 40, 50 games, and I'm not playing a weekend league, but I've used Boateng in a weekend league without a chem style, and he is not a quick player. And that's one of the reasons why he's not expensive this year, and he hasn't been. He's been around 10, 15k. I think he's down to about 5 or 6k now, because he just doesn't have any pace this year. He's got really good defensive stats, but just no pace. And I've used him in weekend league against the likes of Lucas and such, and he was okay. He wasn't that bad at all. So I think if you're playing a relatively not like deep back line, but deep enough that you're not going to get caught over the top, players like these, and Hummels in particular, looks phenomenal, and he's not that expensive. He's like 50, 60k. Moving on to a more affordable player with great defensive stats, but just not that great in terms of like sprint speed. His acceleration actually isn't too bad. If you put an anchor on him, or even a shadow for that matter, Akabi actually turns into a very, very good defender. I'm not quite sure of his work rates actually because I've cut that off. But look at the state of that that defending there. You've got 86 strength, very good stamina. Jumping is terrible, but no one crosses these days anyway. Good composure and reactions. He's a very nice, cheap and cheerful centre-back. To sum things up here though, I think pace is important, and I think the slower the defender, the more of the advantage your opponent has. But it does come down to how good you are in game. If you are a good player and a good defender, you can get away with players like Hummels and Mina and such. If you rely heavily on your defenders being high rated and having a lot of stats, then obviously you're probably better off going for the pacier players. But I think people put too much emphasis, should we say, on defending. On pace in defenders. I think with fullbacks, yes, okay, you need it, and that's justified. But I honestly think there is a room in people's games for the likes of Mina and Hummels, and definitely that Italian centre-back, Acerbi. He looks very, very good for an 83 rated card, in particular with a chem style. So that's my analysis on the whole thing. Obviously, I've used slow defenders this year. If you go check out the Road to Glory, you'll see a bunch of slow defenders that we've used, and I don't think I've got caught that many times. People are putting far too much emphasis on pace in centre-backs. EA have changed something over the last couple of weeks with regards to pace. When they first released the game, it was completely different to what it is now in terms of pace. People, Walcott could burn anyone. Now he tends to get caught a little bit. So, yeah, I think there's definitely something to be had there. Let me know what defenders, or like two centre-backs, for instance, the pairing that you use in the comments. And let's see if people are using slightly slower defenders, or are we getting a lot of Lucas Hernandez and the like. If you have enjoyed this type of video and you want to see more, then do me a favour and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and until the next time, goodbye.
Football Index. The game changed. Download the app now.